Welcome to Primas Pod, the podcast where two Latina cousins unpack culture, conditioning, and the stories we inherited, and decide what we're keeping. We're your hosts, Carla.
And Rosangelica, and we talk real life, navigating corporate America, relationships, motherhood, identity, and what it looks like to stop outsourcing our power and start owning our choices.
I'm Carla, a somatic guide and inner process facilitator who believes awareness creates choice.
And I'm Rosangelica, a corporate leader and life coach, passionate about conscious leadership and personal responsibility. This is a space for reflection, truth telling, and remembering that we're more powerful than we were taught to believe.
Hi, Prima.
Hi.
So, welcome back. So, for this episode, Rosa and I wanted to start with something personal because before we can start talking about the choices we have to talk about what we inherited. And so, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you to think about like how we grew up and what the unspoken rules were when we were little, and specifically what you realized was rewarded and what was discouraged. Does anything come to mind?
Initially, I think that the first thing that comes to mind is obedience. I think that it's a very, very structured upbringing and it's got a lot of positives. There's a lot of pros to it, but then there's a lot of cons because obedience also comes with a form of silence where you don't question anything, you just obey. So that's one of the things that comes to mind initially.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
What about you?
Yeah,
For you?
same. It's the fear of God, right? So this is very Catholic too. This is part of our heritage. This is part of our Mexican heritage. Is like to say you're Mexican is like not in every case, but in our case, right? I'm not saying all Mexicans,
Right.
there's Jewish Mexicans too, but for a
Right.
lot of Mexicans, to be Mexican is also to be Catholic.
Yep.
And yeah, so obedience was big. And you don't question the rules. They just, this is right, this is wrong. This is black, this is white. So what were some of those things for you? Like,
Well, I think the other thing, and I agree, there's so much with being a Catholic, and I think that we can also, there also comes a lot of shame to it because whenever you do something bad or, something naughty or like anything that you already feel like you're a horrible person or there's a lot of shame to a lot of things that comes
guilt.
with the real yeah, there's a lot of guilt.
Mhm.
There's a lot of shame behind it where if you commit a sin, you feel dirty and all of a sudden you're like not worthy and you beat yourself up for it.
You're
So I think that,
you're supposed to confess your sins even,
yeah,
or you're not worthy, right?
or you're not worthy.
Like you can't even take communion if you didn't go through the car wash with the priest before. Like cleanse
Yeah,
yourself of that stuff before.
absolutely.
Like it
Yeah.
felt. You say obedience, and another word that starts with an O that comes to mind for me is obligation. Like feeling
Mm,
obligated to do certain things out of duty because this is what's expected. This is the right thing to do. And there's just this, I want to say it's subtle pressure because no one's like making you, but like you sort of, let me use I language. I felt like I had to.
yeah.
Like I had to, whatever, go to mass every Sunday morning. I don't want to wake up early. I'm a little kid. I just want to sleep or watch cartoons, but nope, I have to go to mass
Right.
or I might get in trouble. I don't know if you grew up with that structure. Like in my house, it was pretty structured. Not that my dad went to church. He just drove us to church, dropped us off, picked us up right at the front door
That
when
would
mass
be
started,
my Theo. That would be my Theo.
and then we all went to brunch together.
Yep. I can see that. I can see that.
What were your Sundays like? Did you have this like I have to go to misa every Sunday.
So religion, God, and all of that was very much present. I did my, obviously I was baptized. I did my first communion. So I did catechisms. All of that was very, but we weren't fully 100% like every single Sunday at church.
Okay.
But even though we are not at church every single Sunday, I think that my mom's way of upbringing or even kind of just kind of like the structure was still very, very Catholic. Like we still prayed. My grandma celebrated every Los Días de los Santos, which is kind of all the saints. My grandma knew exactly what day of the saints were. We did go get our Ash Wednesdays. So,
Hmm.
but I
That's coming
think
up
that
this week.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so it was very present, but we weren't very much like at church every weekend. It wasn't that way, but it was definitely the value system that, the expectations that you have to meet through the Catholic religion were very present in our household.
Mhm.
Um, so but I think, and then the role that I think being the eldest sister also, it just kind
Mhm.
of like slides us into somewhat of a role where we know what our responsibilities come with as the eldest.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was the eldest daughter, but also the eldest child. So I was the firstborn, and I felt a lot of responsibility. No one told me I had responsibility. It's just something, it's just something I sensed, you know.
Yeah.
I was kind of a bossy kid. They tell me, I don't remember this. I was too little, but my mom tells me that I used to tell her like how to mother my little brother.
Ooh.
I was only two, and I was telling her what to do.
Wow.
I think the
See, I would
baby's
never
hungry.
dare.
I
See
think the
that that's
baby needs his diaper changed. You know?
See, and that's the stuff that was discouraged with me. Like again, we talk about kind of being fearful of my mom. Like I was fearful of my mom and I would never dare kind of, say tell her what she needed to do. Like I don't think I would have ever dared to. Um but again, that so I think speaking up was definitely discouraged for me, just being able to speak my mind freely. I think
Mm.
that was something that I knew don't dare to go into.
Can you remember like either the first time or like a time that really like impacted you where you got in trouble, big trouble for speaking your mind freely?
Oh, I can think of many, many.
Like an early one, like you when you were like still little. I know stuff happened when you were later, like more adolescent, but like little.
Yeah, I think that, um,
I
little,
think of
little
I think of one of your stories actually.
rem remind me.
The Rock.
Oh,
Like that never you fucking I'm sorry. Sorry,
yes.
my mouth. You were gaslit. You
I
were
was
gaslit.
gaslit. No, 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 yeah. And the simple story was that it was my brother and I have 2 brothers, and at that time, and one of my brothers threw a rock, and when I turned around to see the rock coming towards me, I saw the rock coming towards me with intention. There was definitely intention there. And I and cracked my head open, ended
Okay,
up
wait, wait,
having to
wait.
go.
Threw a rock. Wait. Like you I want to because the way I heard this when the way I imagine it, how big was this rock?
It was a boulder. So we were little. So if I'm 6 years old, then
It
he
felt
would
big.
be, yeah. So he's kinda like trying to carry this like little boulder. Like it
Big
was a
like
good sized boulder.
big like a grapefruit, like a head of lettuce, like that size, or even
Yeah,
bigger.
kinda like a good sized boulder. Where it was heavy, like where you can see him kinda struggling carrying the rock.
And
Definitely.
did he throw it like from far away, or was he pretty up close
No.
and personal?
He was walking, so I was kind of kneeled down, kind of like playing with dirt because our front yard was all dirt. It was like really, it was just like a big front yard full of dirt and a whole bunch of fruit trees. So
Mm.
we lived outside. We got hungry, we grabbed one of those fruits and we ate those.
Yeah.
We were outside the whole time playing with dirt, all that good stuff in Tijuana. Best memories out there. So I remember that I was just like kind of kneeled down. Like I don't know what I would might have been doing something with the dirt. Sometimes I used to make like little like, like mud and dishes and like, played like I'm cooking food. But I was kneeled down and I just remember that I like looked over to the side and I saw him coming towards me with a boulder. And I didn't think anything of it, to be honest with you. I was like, okay, he's going to play with the boulder and he's going to do something. He's going to create something with the boulder. And I just saw him barely just carrying that boulder. And
Big
all of
deal.
a sudden, I just like saw the boulder, like he just like kind of like swung it. And when he swung it, I just saw it like coming towards me.
Oh,
But again, when I turned around to see like as he's getting ready to kind of like throw it at me, I saw the intention. I definitely saw the intention there. And I, the boulder just hit me on my head and it just like cracked my head open, like blood all over. And I screamed. And I remember like my mom ran out, my dad ran out, and they saw the like blood all over my face. So took me to the emergency room, got some stitches on my head. But
Jesus.
when yeah, I got stitches.
Yeah.
But when I was telling my mom, like he threw it at me. He threw it at me and he's like, "No, it was an accident. It was an accident." My mom just like yelled at me like, "No, he didn't. It was an accident. He did not throw it at you. It was an accident." And I was like, and I knew what I saw though. I knew what I saw. I
And
really did
you
know.
were like 5 maybe when this happened?
Yeah, 5, 6 years old maximum because it was
And you
before we
obviously remember the experience. So
because
like
it
in
was
that
traumatizing.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, of course.
yeah, it was
So
I don't forget.
in that moment when you're crying and you're going to like your mom for comfort and this is what happened to me, and she tells you that's not what you're saying is not true. Like, do you remember how you felt in that very moment?
Yeah, I was like, "Why are you trying to cover up for him? Like, why are you not believing me? Like, why is my story not valid?"
Were you
Um,
angry? Was the emotion you were feeling like anger or was it just shock or
it was shock. It
yeah.
was more than anything, it was like I was kinda like, "What? Like, she doesn't believe me? Like, this she does not believe me." And then I started questioning myself as a little child. You're like, "Well, maybe I did see it wrong." Like maybe it was an accident. Maybe it just like maybe I'm creating this illusion. Like maybe I'm blaming my brother when I shouldn't have as a child. Like, cause you really, so I stopped. I stopped saying he threw this rock at me. Let's fast forward 45 years later, and my other brother and I are having a conversation and and I'm going through all of these realizations about my programming, about, just all of just doing all that work. And that story comes up for me and tell my brother, my other brother, not the one that threw the rock, but the other one. And I was telling the story and I said, I can remember this moment, and kind of what that moment taught me. My brother then said, he says, "I saw that moment. Like I saw him throw the rock at you." He
Mm,
says, and I saw how you were yelled at for saying like he threw the boulder at me. He said, "So I stayed quiet. I never said anything, but I I remember it the same way you remember it." And that it was like reliving that moment all over again. You know, it was really reliving the moment all over again because I was like, wow, I wasn't crazy and I didn't suppress the truth of like, my brother at that moment didn't like me and wanted to take me out with a boulder.
and when your other brother finally, like, you guys talked about this so many years later, that because this was more recent, what did you feel in that moment? You're like, "Ooh."
It
Yeah.
hurt. It definitely hurt because it hurt, but then the other part that it made me realize of how much invalidation when you're invalidated as a child, how much that invalidation you carry it throughout your life, throughout your adulthood. Where invalidation feels something like it's normal. It's not a deal breaker. When people invalidate you, you
Yeah.
tend to kind of just accept it.
And not just people, but the person who's your protector, right? Your mom.
Absolutely.
So, like, is it fair to say that in that moment when you were 5 or 6 and that happened, and maybe it had already happened before, maybe it happened later too, but was the message that you got, what you understood is like mom's version of what, like, reality is the correct version, like, and that your version is not as important as, like, whatever mom says, that's the right story.
Yeah, as a child, I was like, well, maybe my mom's right. Maybe my mom is right. Maybe I'm creating it. When you gaslight a child, I don't, obviously they don't know what gaslighting is. And I think that it's a word that it's overly used and not
It is.
everybody knows the true definition. But I think that when you're being convinced of what you saw and what your reality is, it's something completely, totally different. That was my first experience with it. The automatic thing for me to do is question my own reality, question my own, what did like maybe what I saw, maybe what I witnessed, maybe what I lived through, that wasn't true. Maybe my
Because
mom is right.
Because authority, like, which is above us, and our parents are our first authority, like, well, they must be right because they're in charge.
Absolutely.
We're just a little
Yep.
kid.
Yeah.
Wow. You're talking about stories, and storytelling is big in our culture too. I don't know about, like, with your mom and your dad, like, if stories get repeated a lot, but with my parents, dude, stories get repeated till you're just so tired of hearing them. It's like, and you know
Yeah.
what? I do it too. I do it too. This is part of my programming, it's my conditioning, and I realize it, and then I think, oh dang, I'm just like them. I'm just like them. God bless them. It's interesting.
We inherit that. And it's funny because like I have, when I'm out, I have, some girlfriends and like, and when we tell stories, when I tell stories, like I would have them cracking up and I would have them so entertained by the stories. Interesting enough, though, that a lot of like the traumatic stories, and I caught this like I was like my therapist called this out in therapy that I would tell a traumatic story, like a really traumatic story, but I would kind of convert it into kind of being funny,
Yep.
where it was somewhat comedy. And I would talk very lighthearted about it and kind of like making light of certain things. And
Yeah.
until in therapy, my therapist would stop me and be like, okay, wait a minute. There's something off here. You're
Yeah.
saying this with a smile on your face. You're saying it with this. You're saying it like the body language, everything she was acknowledging, like, like how did you come to terms with it
Yeah.
that you're saying it with, just kind of like making light of it. What did you do to process it? And when she kind of forced me to kind of go back into those moments and
Yeah.
relive those moments
Yeah.
rawly, like
Yeah.
just completely raw,
Yeah.
it opened up the wound and I realized I had never processed them.
For
I just
sure.
simply made they became lighthearted stories in my own narrative to protect myself to some extent.
Oh yeah. For sure. Well, because you distance yourself. It's like you're watching a movie or something, playback, but it's not really, you're not in it. You're
Yep.
not you're not being re-traumatized. And if you can tell it in a funny way, or smile or laugh or play it off like it was no big deal, or just find the humor in it, because even when you told me the story about the rock the first time, you kind of told it in a funny way.
Yeah.
Because it's so crazy, it's like this little child not carrying a big rock,
Yeah.
with bad intention to hurt his sister. And there's something sort of like dark, but
Right. Absolutely.
um
Like our siblings can get on our nerves and like our siblings can be so freaking annoying, and it's like,
Mhm.
but to think to hurt a sibling, like there is something dark about it.
Mhm.
And, you know, so it's kind of like you almost don't want to believe that a sibling would be capable of something like that. But the reality is like, is there remorse afterwards? And I wasn't no beautiful angel either. Like I remember, I remember I got into a fight with my brother one time, and I used to bite my nails when I was little, but then
Me too.
yeah, but then my Tio Pichi would tell me, "I'll give you $1 if you don't bite your nails." So I would
He
like
did.
let my nails grow every so often.
He didn't make this deal with me.
So I had my nails kind of long, and I got into a fight with my brother, and I scratched him. And he had a marking on his face from me scratching him. And I remember when my mom came home and saw the scratch on his face, like, and he's like, "Oh, the cat did it." Like he blamed it on the cat because he knew that we would probably both get our butts whooped if my mom found out that we got in a fight. And
Mm,
he said the cat did it. But number one, like him kind of like saying the cat did it, where he didn't want to get me in trouble. And number two, for me to look at that scratch on his face was a horrible feeling. Like I felt
mm,
such guilt. I
mm.
couldn't look at him. It felt so horrible for me to see that scratch that I caused on his face. And I think that that's where the difference is. You're going to get into fights, you're going to get into like you're going to have these things with your siblings, but at the same token it's like, there's also like somewhat of a remorse where like I don't want to see my siblings suffer.
Yeah, and you wanted to almost take responsibility for what you did, but then
One
you were afraid to. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, for
Mm,
sure.
mm.
But it's crazy to have these moments that just give your like, oh wow, a story that you buried, just comes up for you, and then it gets validated. I think that those are the things that you sometimes like I realize that there's so much that I wouldn't process, and maybe perhaps I have yet to process. Like I said, that's why we talk about an ever going evolution. Like we're still in the processing phases. And that is why we're here on this platform.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Where do you want to go next with our questions? Do you want to ask me anything, or do you want me to keep asking you some questions?
Well, I think, let me see. I think one good question is, what belief did you once think was your personality that you now see as a conditioning?
Ooh, ooh. You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so this one's heavy because I've been processing this one a lot, even just recently.
Mhm.
Because, and we're all guilty of this, I think. I was guilty of this as a mom too, but like we tend to see sometimes our parents, me too, saw their kids, saw me, I saw my daughter as like an extension of me, a representation of me. And it's like her behavior reflects on how good of a mother I am. So my behavior reflects on what kind of people my parents are, and so everybody wants to have the perfect kid or the kid that they're proud of, whatever that means. And it's like,
Right.
it's really kind of disturbing because they just want to make like it's like a little version, a little mini me, right? Like, oh, like in my case, it would be el cerebrito, the little brain.
Mhm.
So like this was my dad, thinking, and he still
Yep.
does, that he's
Still does.
smarter than everybody else. And like,
Absolutely.
so of
That's
course,
why our dads crash. Like they're brothers, but they clash big time because
my dad clashes with a lot of people, but if like, and I'm going to be careful what I say because he might be listening to this, right? But if you're going around in life thinking like I'm the smartest person I know, then of course my kid, I don't make dumb kids. I make smart
Right.
kids, right? So I needed to be a smart kid. And there was a pressure put on me from day zero or week one, or I don't know when these people started their programming, but like in my case, it was pretty extreme, Rosa. I don't know if you know this about me. Maybe I'm about to reveal something you don't
Yeah.
know. But so I learned how to read, I think, before I could speak. Yeah,
Wow.
because my parents, who both thought they were pretty smart, I guess, they found a book when I don't know if my mom was still pregnant, maybe, or if I was very small. And the book was called How to Teach Your Baby to Read. And so they decided they were going to teach me how to read. And they did this because kids are visual. We're just like absorbing.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize shapes, and letters are just shapes, right? So they started writing things down on things. So like on the table, it would say table, on the wall, it would say wall, everything had, the refrigerator said refrigerator. And then they thought, well, we're just going to teach her two languages at once, written. So everything was written in two languages,
Wow.
English and Spanish. And so they were already creating their little brainchild and little smarty pants, whatever.
The extension of themselves.
The extension of themselves, yeah. And then of course I was more advanced, of course, than, which is kind of, it's weird. It's like you go to school and you're the weird one that's already way far ahead of everybody else. So you're bored out. I have to talk about me. I was bored out of my mind
Yeah.
in school, and I kept getting put into like the special group with kids.
Yeah. The advanced kid, the
Yeah.
gate. Remember
Yeah.
gate back in the good old days, the gifted and talented or something?
Yeah, maybe it was called. So for kindergarten, I went to public school, and then they put me in Catholic school. So in Catholic school, we didn't have gate, but we had other things. And so, but yeah, there was always this unspoken, and it was unspoken because my parents never said, if you don't get straight A's, you're in trouble. It was never that. But I knew that they would be proud of me if I did well in school. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to make them happy, and I did very well in school. And, from most of, for sure elementary, all through elementary, I was like a
Yeah.
good student. And so I realized it even just very recently, just in the last year, that like, I got angry. I was like, you know what? Like they didn't even I'll speak for my father. I felt like I wasn't respected as an individual human being with my own ideas, with my own personality, with my own temperament, with my own anything. And I had this visual, I'll probably cry just thinking about it right now, but I had this visual, Rosa, of like my dad holding the marionette strings on the little puppet. And I'm just a little
Wow.
puppet, like dance,
Yeah.
dance, do what I tell you.
Yep.
And it's like, where's personhood? Where's my
Yeah.
individuality? Where's my dignity? Like you
Yes.
just saw me as a little female version of you, dude. What is that about? And I get angry when I think about that. And so I actually don't think that I don't know that that's part of my personality or not, and maybe that's for another episode, but personality is something that has always been super interesting to me. And I'm really a huge fan of like seeing different archetypes in people, like, the lover, the helper, the artist, the magician, like so many, we all have these archetypes in us because, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. I won't.
So you think that the like overachieving was kind
Yes,
of like the
that,
conditioning, like that's just fully conditioned, that was all conditioned.
I think it was. I think it was. And then I realized how much of my mom is in me, that actually is so in me that I can't even avoid it. And that's the more structured,
Mm-hmm.
mm, perfectionistic,
Yep.
um, demanding, like critical. Yeah. And that's in me, dude. That is so in me. Like, I mean,
Oh,
you've seen
believe me,
it,
I'm
right?
I'm seeing it. Like you and I just even pre-planning notes or just kind of everything, and that's why I'm so happy to do this with you, because I think that we balance each other in so many good ways.
Yeah, you're
But
more relaxed, dude. I could
I
learn from
am more lax,
Mhm.
and I think that for me is like I just kind of played this role with my family in my upbringing. I was more kind of like the fixer, where I kind of
Mm,
always took it upon me to fix problems. My first recollections are like ugly fights with my parents. And I'm
mm,
sitting there as a little girl trying to stop the fights and trying to calm them down and trying to, just kind of owning that like it was my responsibility to somehow fix the drama around me. And I think that I just took that as I was growing up, where somebody had a slum landlord, or my mom's getting ripped off by an insurance company, and I'm picking up the phone calling on her behalf, and because I spoke good English. And
mm.
so I started just becoming, that person that just kind of like, call me and I got this and let's do this. And just like there was nothing I can fix, when the reality of it is like there was so much put on me
Hmm.
to like not really focus on helping even myself, but sitting there being so servicial in Spanish was,
Yeah.
it just like I was just of service. Like I provided a certain service that people relied on me, and I really kind of would kind of not really focus on myself. Like I'm there to try to fix and help other people solve their problems.
But you're good at this, right? And you actually do this in the work you do.
Yes.
Are you? Right.
I am a
You're
corporate leader. Yeah, I work in claims.
you
I'm a
solve
manager.
problems
Yeah, I solve problems.
all
I'm
day.
Yep. I
But
do this for a living. I am good at it. I'm
you are good at it.
definitely good at it.
Were
Yeah.
you good at it even then? Like, were you like noticing, oh, I'm pretty good at like maybe it gave you a little something, something like a little, maybe that little leadership, that little, you were a little leader, pretty.
Interesting enough, when I first got into the auto claims, I got into the field and I was out there. And yes, it was a male dominated industry. I'm out there writing estimates, learn how to repair vehicles, all that good stuff, and negotiating. But I will say that I hated it. I hated
Mm,
it because of the misogynistic
mm,
stuff behind it. And this was pre Me Too movement. This is pre all that good stuff. So I dealt with sexual harassment, just a lot of disrespect. And I really wanted to get out of the field. So that's what motivated me to go get my bachelor's degree. Interesting
mm.
enough, I'm still here. But I know it.
Well,
But
you've made a difference all
I
this.
made a difference because I think in my bachelor's degree, I started learning to find a purpose in what I did. And then
Mm,
and in my mind, I started thinking like I'm helping people understand what their insurance, what insurance is and how it works, and educating them because I work on the claim side. And so I started that's the part that where I found my purpose. And then
mm,
I speak Spanish. So I was really kind of happy to explain to our community, Latinos, and in Spanish, and just explain to them the way that it works, because a lot of people, everybody has to pay for it. Nobody wants to. Nobody. And what is something that you pay for every month, but and you wish you never have to use it? It's going to be insurance.
for sure.
So, but I found a purpose in what I've done, and yes, and I think that I I've been good at it, and I think that I do it because it's just kind of part of my DNA, my genes. I don't know. It's somewhere. It's very embedded in me. Like, give me a problem. I got this.
Well, you look out for people. Um, like oh, what's the word I'm looking for? That you're like a champion for other people. Like I see that part of you, I think. Yeah. Does that
Yeah,
resonate for you?
absolutely. Um
Like an
I think
advocate,
that
the word I think of.
advocate.
Yeah.
And I think I love being an advocate, because I think that because we talked about invalidation. There are so many aspects. I can think of so many stories where I was invalidated. What I said didn't matter, you
Mm,
know. And I think that with that invalidation is like you really learn you don't learn how to advocate for yourself. And so it's easier to see it when some injustice happens with somebody else. Because I
Mhm.
was that person. If I saw it happen to somebody else, I was outspoken about it. I was like, wait a minute, you can't do that to them, and blah, 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 blah. And I would call it out and I would speak my mind and I would defend that person. And that was me. That's always been me.
Mhm.
Well, I that was me when I was younger. I think there's
Mhm.
more of a filter now. Now I let people kind of be who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
But but I was good at advocating for others, but I was not good at advocating for myself. And which that's changed because I've had to do the work. But
When
yeah,
did you when did that happen for you? That like, oh, like that moment that you realize that turning point, like, I can do this for myself too. I don't do this for myself very often.
I would say going into my 40s. And this is why I would love to speak to the younger generations, that I think that that's when I started speaking up, by I think, just all these little things were happening in my life. I had gotten out of a relationship and I was focused on figuring out who am I, just, who am I in this space? Like what are the things that really resonate with me? And I think that that's when I started valuing what it is that I brought to the table, within the corporate world. All of a sudden I started recognizing that I can be an advocate for myself, not just for others, that I should stand up, that I should, require it in a male dominated industry. Yeah, there's a way that I can be assertive. There's a way that I can present myself to show them that I'm not here to tolerate and I'm not here to put up with your stuff. I'm here to do a job. And so I think that later 30s, early 40s was kind of a drastically changing point for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I celebrate that for you. That's,
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think that it's also the people that you surround yourself with as well. People that just kind of, inject those little nuggets in your head sometimes too, because I think that we all need, and I think as coaches, this is why we're here and we offer our services is because we really do understand that sometimes we need that person that really truly does believe in us and that knows what we're capable of, and that belief system is just like it taps into these unbelievable powers that you never realize that you have until you start owning your own choices.
hmm, absolutely. What do you think? Is this a good spot to like stop this conversation and
Yeah, I
pick up
think
again?
it's a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prima.
Always thank you, Prima. And I hope, and if this resonates with you guys, remember, don't forget to subscribe
Yes,
to our show, and we
we
will be uploading an episode a week.
we
So hope
appreciate
to,
your support.
yeah. Till the next one.
Okay, thanks.
It's okay.
Take a quick moment to notice what stood out as you were listening today and where you might have more choice than you thought. If you enjoyed what we shared here, consider subscribing to the show so you don't miss out on future conversations.
And if this conversation stirred something for you and you're curious about working with one of us, reach out. You'll find our WhatsApp QRs in the episode video, or you can DM us on Instagram at carla.presence or Rosangelica Life Coach.
Until next time, primas.